From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.
Welcome to the talk today. We are speaking about how to build a multi-tenancy internal development platform with GitOps and vCluster. But first, I have some few questions for you. How many of you already heard about internal development platform? Yeah, I imagine. How many of you already have built one internal development platform? How many of you already have built one internal development platform which is widely adopted by the company and the developer are happy with? Oh, nice. Let's speak later. And the last one, how many of you already relabeled to platform engineer before whatever you was, and now you're wearing the platform engineering title? Oh, a few, I guess more people here. But next year it's gonna be different, trust me. First to me, thank you for the introduction. I make it short. Artem Lajko, working as a platform engineer for ITS Consulting, CNCF certified Kubestronaut, ambassador for platformengineer.org, and published author for Implementing GitOps with Kubernetes. A lot of my friends told me I don't promote my book too much, so now I do the favor to my friends. If you're starting building a platform, you will facing GitOps, and we put a lot of experience and a lot of approaches in the book with a colleague of mine. So yeah, I can recommend it. And we will give 25 copies signed at 6 p.m. at our booth B16. So I guess my 3 friends are happy about it. And let's start with the target, because we have a lot on the plate. The target will be understand why internal development platforms and platform engineering matters. Also the role of platform engineering, building and managing it, one common pitfall in choosing a solution. Also framing and understand the pain, why we choosing vCluster and how we build it. And then we are going to a demo. I like to start with some terms. It's not like it's a perfect definition, but it helps you to understand the talk. If I'm speaking about internal development platform, in the most cases, I mean you have a place to go where you can over self-service provision whatever you need. It's not like a collection of tools. It's like you have a documentation and you know how to use it with some golden paths, not guardrails. It's just self-service. If you're speaking about developer, I'm speaking about software developer and software engineers. And if I'm speaking about developers, I mean of every user of your platform, because the most teams try to build an IDP. They are just focusing on the software developer and also on the software engineers, but not of all of your user, because I guess not you build an IDP, but it's not quietly adopted. And if I'm speaking about catalog, I'm not speaking about Helm umbrella charts. I'm speaking about CDKs, I'm speaking about Terraform models, I'm speaking about libraries. Everything you need to provide, to fulfill, to create a wrapper around it, and to fulfill the self-service with your golden paths. And a lot of people ask me also, what do you mean by push-based versus pull-based? For me, it was clear. With push-based, I mean, if you have a pipeline, for example, you have rendered a manifest, and you have something like kubectl apply against the target cluster, you have access to the cluster. This is what I mean by push-based. If I'm speaking about pull-based, I'm meaning you have a running a GitOps operator that it's gonna having access to a repository and pull it. For me, it's clear. Okay, I'm back again. Now let's go to the why IDP matters. Let's see if it works. Well, IDP matters, just on numbers. Kubernetes has become a standard for containerization since 2014. Now 11 years. Gartner says last year in the report by 2027, 90% of the G2 companies will use container management. And in 2023, adoption was below 20%. They're not saying they're using Kubernetes, just container management tools. So they containerize. I guess we will have some problems. 55%. Google says 55% already use platform engineering. This is a report from this year, January, and 90% gonna plan to expand it. And I mean, if you try to expand your platform engineering or to build it, so you're gonna using something like an IDP, or you call it whatever you like, just on the numbers. And if you zoom a little bit out, you will see what's happening on the market. Yeah, I guess we have some internet problems. Yeah, I'm connected to the Wi-Fi. But I can also switch to...
Try. Oh, I will give you now.
Let's take a look. Come on. No, now I'm offline. Come on. So back to the topic. Why IDP matters? If you zoom out a little bit, you will see that the company just adopting containerization. They don't know what IDPs are. And you can also see that a lot happening in the 10, 11 years. We go away from CD push-based approach to a CD pull-based approach. Also a lot on the tooling maps happening. We are going away more to operator-driven from infrastructure as code and configuration as code, more packaging and all the stuff. And also a lot of IDPs gonna be created the last 5 years. And the problem is, I also have a lot of talks with IDP providers. They ask me why we can't sell to the companies IDPs. I say because they don't understand the pain. They are figuring out how they adopting containerization. And you can see you have a gap between it, between where the companies are and where the IDPs are. And I'm just zooming 50% out because it's also at the same time AI happening. I'm not speaking about today. It's gonna kill all the time. And if I'm starting to building IDPs or whatever it's called, for me it was like, now it's IDP, but how I call it before I started with, I looking as a CNCF landscape, because for me, if I'm building a platform, I combine different tools to achieve something, wrap it, provide it as a self-service, but it was difficult to understand it from the CNCF landscape. And then I found the platform tooling landscape from platformengineer.org, and I really like it because you can see more in planes. It's not cover everything, but you can see the entry point for the developer. You can see the entry point also for the security. And if you're building a platform, you're getting a better picture. But then also one thing happening, the management come to me and say, can you please explain all the stuff in 3 minutes? I say, yeah, of course, just give me a drink and I'm gonna explain everything in 1 minute. Just give me one. Jokes aside, I was making interviews with a colleague of mine, and we interviewed different stakeholders, not just a developer, different companies, different stakeholders, security, and another. And we put everything in a block, give it to the community responds it, and we're getting in 2 or 3 weeks about 60 or 70 messages from end user, from service provider, from IDP builder, they can sell it, and they provide us everything we needed on requirements. We extract the requirements and try to understand if you want to build a platform, what is the heart of the platform? What do you need? What are the requirements from the different stakeholder? And as you can see, self-service was one of them. Kubernetes, they don't want to manage one cluster. They wanted to manage a fleet. They wanted to have something like a standard catalog. A standard catalog means here having third-party tools pre-configured so they can deploy it on one cluster on many. Or they also wanted to having, for example, documentation on one place and software catalog. For example, you have a team, a developer team, and you have 5 departments, and they provide the software for the 5 departments. It should be easy to deploy it the same way it should be integrated. Of course, the security, enterprise features, OIDC, multi-tenancy, and all the stuff, but also the FinOps or the product owner come to us and say, we don't want to run out of budget in May. So we also need to control this. We say, okay, I want to understand it. I mean, it's really nice to having the requirements, but how can I put everything in a view for me, not in a detailed architecture, but in a easy one to explain it, to understand where I found something. And for me, it was like this burger one. And if you're looking at the bottom, it's really easy to understand because I just consuming the API. I'm using different cloud provider. I consuming it with crossplay maybe with Terraform or another tool, but I'm just consuming it. It doesn't matter. It's done. I don't need to cover it. I just need to consume it. Then in a portal, I can buy a portal. I can buy a subscription for port. I can build it with frameworks like Backstage. I can build my own one. But a portal, not just a fancy UI. A portal gives you the capability to using all the tools. For example, if I'm logged in and I'm clicking on t-shirt size medium, and it's gonna be provision me composed infrastructure, I need to build it first. And of course, someone need to build the middle layer. And every company has different maturity level of different maturity of optimization, and it's not so easy to build it. And the next question also will be, who is gonna build it? And I mean, the answer is really easy. Of course, the platform engineers. I guess if I ask 10 people here in the room, what is a platform engineer? I will guess I get 8 different answers. I found this 2 definitions I really like. The one is it's about abstracting or composing individual services, building an overlay and making them self-service consumable by end user. I put it also on a blog in detail. It's not about abstracting or composing individual services, building an overlay on top and using to provide infrastructure by your own. If you're doing things like this, in my point of view, you are a managed infrastructure team. And what I mean by infrastructure team, I guess you're familiar with this setup. Our new projects come in. you getting a request from the developer team over email or ticket, you using Terraform models, maybe Python SDKs, maybe Helm charts to provide the platform, to provide Kubernetes, managed database, and then you enable the developer to use it. But you still own the infrastructure. If the developer needs a new database, you're going to create a new Terraform model. No self-service. You're just giving them the playground, but you own everything. And it's very easy to build for you because you can then know everything doesn't work because it doesn't have a self-service. And if you're doing the real platform engineering, in my point of view, you can challenge me. We can discuss it later. Then you need the skill set of already you have. And then you also need a skill set of a software developer and software engineer to understand how you integrate it in a portal, how you build a portal. If you're using Backstage, you need to understand React. So you can enable it. You don't need to build a portal. You can also build a wrapper, CLI. But the most important thing is that the developer can using the self-service to deploy the platform, and something changed. Platform team now owns the platform, and the developers start to own the infrastructure, day 2 operation, golden paths, all the things. And maybe you heard a lot about it. Your platform team needs a product mindset. I mean, it sounds nice on slides and books, but if you understand how the most platform engineering team works, they have a background like, I don't know, system engineer, cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, relabeled to platform engineer, so they don't understand in the most cases how software development works. For the developer, it's easy. Daily business, pull request, feature request, release candidates, all the stuff. And a lot of companies fail to build it. And I asked the successfully company, and they told me they have 1 or 2 product owner of the platform which we already have developed in the past. So, and last year we had about 4,000 applications, and I don't find one profile which matched this requirement. And if you're doing platforming the right way, you will see you are getting, for example, 63% more in the NA compared to DevOps engineers, 55 to Europe. But if you're already relabeled or will be relabeled and doing the same stuff like you're doing now and getting more salary, I will be really happy for you. But it's not about what real platform engineering is. And maybe you're asking, why do you tell us, Artem, why we need to know it? Because the most companies have failed to build an IDP and still failed it. And we had a platform con day today, this year in June. Platform engineering, the only topics, 700 attendees, and similar question was asked. How many of you built an IDP, and how many of you are happy with that, and how is the adoption rate? From the 700 people, I guess 5 hands just go up. So you can see it's still a topic. It's not so easy, and you have multiple reasons for failing it, but I'm just picking one, failing to measure the value. It sounds really easy. I mean, you don't need KPIs, you don't need DORA metrics, you just need to go to the developer and ask them. And I don't mean something like, why you don't using our platform? It's not work. I mean, doing an internship, doing an, I don't know, shadowing, see how they work, see where their pain is. In the most cases, the developer, different user of your platform, it's not like they don't want to use your platform. They have a cognitive overload and they have pain points and they don't have the time to using your platform. And something happening at this point. And I mean, I say, just ask to your developers and listen. And we did it, really, we did it. And I also asking me why we did it, because I mean, in the most cases, we have already 99 problems as platform engineers, so we don't have the cognitive capacity to listen to the developer. And at the same time, we are platform engineer, of course. We know what the developer needs. If a developer come to us and say, I just need to deploy a simple application, we're gonna provide the right platform for the simple application. And I mean, because we are really good at reading expression, no need to say. I mean, we get it. He's really happy. So, jokes aside, but I get you get the point. But I was not asking me. I was asking Steve, a colleague of mine. I was asking Steve, why would you even start to listening to the developer now? This is not Steve, by the way. This is a red panda. I show you Steve later. It's Steve. Not looks like a red panda. This is 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 also not Steve. It's me. Steve is the man behind the cam. And not just the man behind the cam, he's also a good friend of mine, and we built a lot of stuff. We're not working anymore together, but we have keep the exchange. And I was asking again Steve, why we try now to listen to the developer and try to solve our pain and not building some over-engineered fancy. And we figured out, because the developer don't want it like us to wait between 3 and 14 days to getting a new environment. They wanted a self-service, not ticket ops, and they wanted to have a real environment, not just runs on my machine, machine, like with Kubernetes and Docker or other stuff, because they need to access databases, experience the pain in enterprise with firewall rules, all the funny stuff. And we understand the pain. Small spoiler, we solved it. We provide a new environment in between 5 and 15 minutes. Very easy, instead of 3 and 14 days. Self-service, day 2 integration, cleanups. We provide similar experience like on our dedicated cluster. We modify a little bit the login tool because the login token expired every 24 hours, so they need login again. We modify it. They don't realize it. They were happy. Relationships improved. Cognitive workload decreased. But one KPI you can't measure. They started to trust us and respect us. If we provide, for example, we say we have a new idea, we want to test it, and they saw us that we solve the problem and say, yeah, let's jump in. And so we can also, it's a KPI you can't measure because it's like collaboration should be, I guess. And how we did it? Easy. And before I'm gonna explain you or showing the demo, of course, we at this point, as we solve it, we're using another way. For this part, I'm gonna using Kubara. Kubara is some framework. It's inner source at the moment from Stackit, and I'm not speaking too much about Kubara today because if I'm starting about it, it's getting more questions and people ask me, can we get access and so on and so on. But you have interest in, just scan it, you can check it, and I'm gonna show you how Kubara works, but I'm not gonna explain it. And the easy way. You have a platform team. The platform team create a config file, create some envs. Kubara gonna create a catalog of opinionated way Terraform models, opinionated way Helm charts, but also gonna provision your cluster, deploy Argo CD, enable Argo CD to manage itself using application sets with label-based approach, label the cluster, deploy all third-party tools to make it to a control plane, create a vault, establish a connection between external secrets and the vault. This is the easy way. It's gonna bootstrap you all the things and also allows you to add fleet cluster. And you're maybe asking why Kubara was built. And maybe you're not asking this. I guess you're not asking this. But I'm gonna tell you. We have different teams, platform engineering teams. They started to build their own platform. And they come to us and say, we wanted to build something with different experience. And we say, let's put a lot of engineers together and combine the experience of it because we have different requirements. Kubara should provide a control plane, can run everywhere, and should manage, for example, 40,000 location or 50,000 location, 50,000 cluster on edge. It also should be available to manage workload on private data center, on cloud, like on Stackit, Open Telecom Cloud, OVH. So you can combine everything like you should build, like you show on the requirement, how to, for example, to provide a self-service. And my idea was, I just using Kubara and I'm gonna wipe coded it with our HomePod solution. I know Alex gonna hate me. It's just living on a machine because if I wipe code it, Alex say I'm not gonna approve it. Never. You need to explain every line of code, and I say okay, I can extend Kubara in multiple ways. I will add a app of apps pattern. I don't know if you're familiar with app of apps pattern, also covered in the book. And you have, for example, one pointer to an application folder, and then you can put a lot in, and it's going to deploy your applications. And I had also the opportunity to explain, to extend Kubara or the output over templating, but my idea was eat your own dog food. We can also write a new function. I'm gonna try to write a new function and see how I can extend and how it works out. And I did it, I wipe coded it, like I say. Let's jump us on the demo so you can understand it better maybe a little bit, and you can also understand how we solve the pain. It's gonna be okay for you, can you read it? Because I don't see much. But I guess it works out. Our approach was very easy. The developer get a config YAML, 4 lines. With 4 lines, they can create different applications. They can create different setups on demand with a self-service. Sounds like magic, it's not, I'm gonna show you. And behind the scene, what the developer don't see, it's gonna having some validation, some templating, some provisioning stuff. If the developer said, for example, I just want a femoral stage with vCluster, then they're getting just a femoral stage and going airbag permission, everything gonna be set for them. And if they say, for example, I want an isolated cluster, it's gonna create a node pool for them, taint it, tolerate it, modify the app of the vCluster and deploy it. Similar with Argo CD. If they say we wanted something having like dedicated cluster experience with GitOps, they just need to set a label. Sounds like magic. Like I say, I'm gonna show you. It's not. And everything after that happening going to be, of course, committed because we're using GitOps, and Argo CD gonna manage it for us. And yeah, let's going for the first use case. The first use case very easy. Developer came and say, I just want a ephemeral stage. What's gonna happening behind the scene? You can see it's gonna create an application of vCluster and Argo CD using an app of apps pattern to deploy it. Simple. What I have to do as a developer, I just need to create in the config file, it's a common shared config file. I just need to put things like this, a project name. If I want to have GitOps, if I want to my group name, it's going to be mapped and created. In our case, it was easy because we had LDAP and Active Directory integrated, so we have multiple groups. They just need to map it and isolate it or not. And we also provide much more. And then we are using Kubara with the extended function, vCluster, and we're also giving a new schema evaluation and say, create this for us. And you can see if it works, it should be green, a new application. It's going to create it in the app of apps folder. And the easy way, I'm showing you the hard way. Of course, it's going to be covered by a workflow. And let's say minus a demo 1. And we are gonna, because like I told you, it's an app of apps pattern. We are going to just refresh the application. And you can see, hopefully in few seconds, Argo CD gonna deploy it. So what's happening now for the developer, if they execute the script, of course you need to extend the workflow a little bit and doing something like notification after it's finished. They should be getting a notification so they know my ephemeral stage is finished. And if you are looking, for example, now here, and come on, I guess the internet works. It's starting to creating the vCluster. It's not magic. It's taking about 60 or 90 minutes, and the developer are done. They have an ephemeral stage, just with few lines of code. No magic. And of course, they can use a script, like I say, but you can do it the hard way, just using the vCluster CLI and getting access to the cluster. We will wait a little bit. And the next use case will be, for example, the developer come and say, now I wanted to having GitOps enabled. And easy. What they need to do? It's one demo, but I split it in 3 steps so you understand it easier. And it's going to be happening like this one. At the first, they need, of course, to set just label enabled. And you can see it's a list. Multiple teams can manage the same. And the next step it's going to be happening. What happening behind the scene is now we have deployed the vCluster. We need to fetch the kube config. We're using external secrets operator. I don't know if you're familiar with, but we're going to push it to the vault. And over in external secrets, we are going to get it. And we are going to put a label on it. So Argo CD on the cockpit understands the application set and can deploy it. But at this step, we just going fetch the kube config and push it to the vault. And as you wait, give me a second. So you can see what's happening behind the scenes, the secrets, my clusters, secret data. This is just an H cluster. And now we just wanted to fetch it. And it's going to connect it to the vCluster. And if we refresh it, we pull and edit it to the vCluster. The next step is going to be, now we need to say to Argo, you need to connect to the vCluster. We need to fetch the secret and connect it and reach the cluster secret with some information. For this part, we are going using this command, and it's gonna patch our set up and patch the control plane in the customer service catalog. And you can see here happening, for example, for you it's like magic because it's a lot of overlays, but the only thing here happening is it's created a new list and say for Argo CD, for the control plane, look at the vault, grab it, and add the additional label for Argo CD on top. And the next step will also be, of course, we don't just want to deploy Argo CD inside the vCluster. We want to configure it. We want to give it, I don't know, some airbag configuration, own domain name, and things like this. And the setup, how it was built, it allows you to patch it with custom. You're using the managed values, and you can overwrite it very easy. And it's gonna create here, if you're looking at the Helm, at the customer part, you will see a new folder is created, the overlays for the vCluster. I mean, I just put some overrides on it, and it just setting, for example, the domain name, and also the Let's Encrypt staging. But you can also, of course, configure the DEX, configure all the stuff, and so on. And of course, we need to check it in. I'm running out of time. Come on. Now we don't need this is, by the way, the Homer dashboard. We don't need to reconcile the app of apps pattern because we need to reconcile the control plane. It's called CDS 25. Maybe I choose a wrong name, but you will see what's happening behind the scenes. The developer just committed it, waited about 5 and 10 minutes, and it's gonna be, come on. And you can see Argo CD starting to create some pods, some ingress. And after this is finished, the developer getting, for example, notification and say, here is your domain, just go for it. If you combine it, we combine it, if I remember it right, at this point with some LDAP stuff, single sign-on automatically created, so they can just log in. So you provide it, you solve the pain of the developer with just few lines of code. No magic, no portal, no backstage, just a simple config file. And I'm not covering everything here, because you can also go now to say isolated, how isolated work behind the scene. And you can also configure more, but the only thing you need to provide to the developer, just a config YAML with a documentation how to use it. And of course, some rules if you want to protect production, you need to keep it different. But if we're taking a look, you can see Argo CD should getting now his ingress, and it should work out. I guess it takes some minutes, but hopefully you get the point. We understand the developer pain. We try to solve it the easy way and to provide it with just a wrapper with some easy approach, how they can creating a self-service instead waiting of days, getting a few stages. Don't ask me what it takes days. It's a story you don't want to know. Maybe today at the gin tasting. But back to the topic, because I also don't provide you all the demos, because I'm going to share with you the link collection. And at the link collection, you can see if you have some questions to Kubara. Of course, just ask. If you want to see how Kubara works behind the scenes, we are using it at the last webinar with vCluster. Now they rename it from Loft Labs, they now vCluster Labs. And I'm explaining a little bit more, because the community after our first webinar was like, we wanted to get access to it, how it works. And I can explain you, it's not our product, it's a product of Stackit, and at the moment it's inner source. It should be long-term, be open source, but like I say, if you have questions, ask it. If you want to understand more about the approach, what I'm showing you now, how isolated parts works, you can also seeing this workshop from this year from PlatformCon. If you don't know my blogs, I also publish everything and make everything available in the blogs. On the ATS, we have also some blogs. And if you want to read some business-related blogs, I provide business-related blog more to the platform engineering part. And yeah, I guess we are coming to the end. And if you have questions arise after the Q&A session, just drop me a message on LinkedIn. I also at the moment creating a guest lecture for platformengineer.org where we combine things like this. They have really nice certification, not just because I'm ambassador, but the best thing it's gonna be spontaneously. We were really agile, and we're gonna creating a gin tasting today with a 3-star world-class gin tasting from Sebastian Kister at our stand at 6 p.m. And we are going gin tasting combined with book signing. So visit us. First come, first serve. So 25 books, B16. Yeah. See you there. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think this one was already more or less answered, but I will still read it out. Essentially, the solution is cloud source, at least at the moment you said. What would be the right open source tools to recreate it?
What gonna be the right open source tools?
Yes. It's like, I think it's related to Kubara.
What will be the right open source tools? I don't get the question, to be honest.
No worries.
That we are using it Kubara framework, or
Yeah, so like an alternative to Kubara at the moment. Is there any, like, is there something you
if we
use?
find one, we don't gonna build it. If you have one, please tell me.
Okay,
so
so-
it's gonna be maybe easy for us to merge it, but at the moment we have some requirements. We don't find our solution, so we build it with some engineers.
Okay, how do you measure IDP impact?
IDP impact. You have different kinds of how you measure IDP. Of course, you have the DORA matrix, seeing also, the manager loves, or you, for example, if you introduce something, the mean time between recovery, how much do you deploy, it's setting nothing too much to you. But in my point, it's the adoption rate, seeing, for example, if you have established IDP, how many of your users are already using the new world, how many logins they have, how they use it. But here you need to establish, of course, some KPIs. In the most cases, it's not the question about how to measure IDP impact. The most question is how to getting user to use it. And this is more difficult. And then you can measure the IDP impact. But to answer this question, it's very easy then. You create a hidden champion, you create some FOMO, you show that your IDP works. Then the other teams, if you build it right, try to want to use it. And then you can starting to measure the impact. Because if you don't have user, what do you want to measure?
Thank you. Next one is, sounds nice, but devs need to learn all these specific configs and what they do. Do they even adapt fully?
All the configs, the 4 lines? Yeah, I guess so. If they need to learn 4 lines, it was not a problem. We don't even need to provide the documentation because, it's self-explained. Project name, your group name, isolated, or do you want GitOps? So they don't need to learn something. But it also exists a documentation because you can, for example, configure the node pools and also change the size of the machine. You can also, for example, add your own labels, taints, toleration, and so on. But they don't just need to read, to learn how to read.
Next one is, how do you protect yourself from devs over provisioning clusters?
How do you use that? For the development, we say, go with the flow. If they break it, we are gonna punish them. For the prod, we say, for example, we have a pull request and it should be approved. So we can see no impact because as we built it, we have using the same cluster for our shared services, Azure ICI runner. We have some documentation running on it on our pool and we don't want to kill the management cluster, the production one. So we have a pull request, just need to approve it. But for the dev, we say, go, learn, explore. We created you stages. We allow you to destroy it. If you destroy it 3 times, we need to speak maybe, but it doesn't happen. So I can't answer the question because it was fine.
Product mindset, can you make everybody happy? Are we not following best practices to 90% with some custom features and your individual implementation details?
No, you cannot make everybody happy. If you are working in an enterprise company, I guess you need to have some golden paths, not guardrails. You need to having some commitment what you want to achieve, and you will have making some people unhappy, and they're gonna leave the company. This is how it works out.
If the objective is reducing cognitive overload, wouldn't asking them to then be responsible for the prod infra overload them?
If subject to the cognitive overload, would they asking them to be? Would asking them to be responsible for the prod infra overload? I don't get the question right. If the objective reducing cognitive overload, would asking them to be responsible for the prod infra overload? Which overload coming from the prod?
They're only responsible for the things that they provision themselves, as far as I got it. So I think there is no additional overload, right?
Yeah, it's right.
Except for the 4 lines of code that we already talked about. Okay, let's skip to the next one. How do you introduce it to the dev teams? It needs to be adopted to make a difference.
How do you introduce to dev teams? It needs to be adapted. They have the pain. Like I say, we saw the pain. We wanted to solve them. We show them because we're just listening, and they adopted it because it was their pain and we solved it. So you don't need to advisement or to making some, I don't know, try to convince them, because we solved just the pain. It's not like we wanted to do it because it's fancy.
And this is like more or less a follow-up question to what you just answered. When is the point the developer pain is addressed, and there is no need for additional features in the IDP?
The point was, if I guess the new people starting or the junior ones starting to wait, and they wanted to test something, and they say, we are not going to test it because we need to wait 3 days. And they say, we are going to skip it or running it at our local machine. This was the pain point for the junior one especially. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.